It's match day for India as India gets its campaign in the Women's T20 World Cup off to a start against New Zealand in the Dubai International Cricket Stadium. This comes after an exciting first day of action in Sharjah, where we saw Bangladesh beating Scotland in the opener and Pakistan pulling off an upset against Sri Lanka in the second game at the same venue. I'm Lavanya and I'm covering the Women's T20 World Cup for Sportstar here in the United Arab Emirates. And in this video, we're going to look at all of these games and a little more and what to expect from day 2 of the tournament. The tournament got off with a little bit of history coming along with it, with Bangladesh winning its first T20 World Cup match in 10 years. The last time the team won was in Sylhet in April of 2014 against Ireland, and there's been a drought of wins going over 3,800 days for this side, something that they managed to break here in Sharjah. We saw Bangladesh opting to bat first. Having seen the lay of the land, they really wanted to get ahead on those conditions. If you look at the scorecard, they managed just 119 for 7, with Scotland managing to pull things back in that middle phase. Saskia Hawley was very, very important in that effort. She took 3 wickets and proved to be very important for Scotland. She's, of course, got experience playing in Australia. She's featured for Sydney Thunder before. So a lot of those franchisee league experiences coming in, keeping her momentum and helping her team get ahead in that phase in the middle. Bangladesh really struggled, I think, between overs 7 to 14 to just get the ball away. The outfield was really slow, and we saw boundaries were really hard to come by. Shobana Mostari top scored with a 38 ball 36, and there were several little cameos from different players in the side, including skipper Nigar Sultana Jyoti, who managed a run a ball 18. But yes, with the bat, they would have felt that they were a couple of runs short. But we've always known that Bangladesh's strength is its bowling, and they stuck to their strengths when Scotland came to bat. We saw Sarah Bryce carrying her bat with an unbeaten 49. She had obviously been on the field for 20 overs, given that she's the wicketkeeper, and then she ended up batting 20 overs as well, which is an incredible feat physically. I'm not sure if she's, just gone and fallen flat on her bed later because the heat was extremely trying in Sharjah. You could see all of the players with their shirts soaked in sweat walking around. Eventually, the Scotland players were even struggling to finish runs. It had gotten that physically taxing for them. But the problem with Scotland was, and Catherine Bryce would sort of allude this to nervousness later on, but partnerships were really not able to form. There was a lot of nervy hitting in trying to find the boundary and reducing the runs required as the balls reduced. Given that the tournament is in the UAE, with Sharjah and Dubai being the venues, a lot of teams are deciding to go spin heavy in their bowling attack. But in this game, it was Ritu Moni, the medium pacer, who managed to take 2 wickets to lead the bowling pack. Every other bowler except Shorna managed a wicket to their name, including Marufa and the spinners. Nigar was very, very frugal with how she used Marufa, giving her an over or 2 in the beginning and then bringing her on just in the end, with the spinners doing most of the heavy lifting. In terms of Scotland and Bangladesh, there were a lot of dropped catches on the field, which I'm sure is something that this team will start to address if they want to go ahead with the same momentum in the tournament. But eventually, Bangladesh managed to restrict boundaries for Scotland, with the players constantly finding fielders when they were trying to get the ball away. The outfield was tricky, like I said before. And eventually, they ended up falling 16 runs short. For Bangladesh, I think the best part of this game was right after that win was sealed, because Nigar Sultana was on the ground with her face in her hands. The players at Fahima Khatun had some very interesting celebrations throughout the course of this game. There were a lot of dance moves being busted out in Sharjah. Nigar was inconsolable. She was weeping her way right after the win. She was crying back in the dressing room. She spoke very emotionally about what this win means for that country, which has been ravaged by political turmoil over the last couple of months, and they're still trying to recover and get back to normalcy. The World Cup's been taken away from them. They were the original hosts, even though they have hosting rights here. They're not playing in front of their people. And this was a dedication to what that country was going through. So it was a very, very special moment for Nigar Sultana, particularly because this was managed in her 100th T20I as a Bangladesh player. Nahida Akhtar also had a very special milestone in this game. She picked her 100th T20I wicket, which makes her the first Bangladesh player to manage this feat. If the first game was high on emotions, the second one was high on drama. We saw Fatima Sana, the youngest captain in this mix, go up against one of the most experienced leaders in the game, Chamari Athapaththu, in the second game. In both these matches in Sharjah, the captain winning the toss opted to bat first. Pakistan was no different. Despite a lot of really good intent coming out from the Pakistan players, they weren't able to get the Sri Lankan bowlers away. We saw Chamari, Athapaththu, Sugandhika Kumari, Uddeshika Prabodhini. All three finished with 3-wicket hauls. They were in control of proceedings. The one outlier, I think, in this entire thing would be Fatima Sana, who came in with a 20-ball 30. That innings eventually ended up being the winning margin as well, and was crucial in Pakistan getting over the line and getting 116 runs on the board. Technically, if you look at it in the kind of momentum that the Sri Lankan team has had and just Chamari Athapaththu as a batting institution, this would have been a pretty straightforward chase for them. Chamari started in the same vein as well, with a boundary to begin. But Fatima Sana set her up so beautifully, giving her short ball after short ball and then giving her a slightly fuller delivery, which she ended up then holding out to a fielder. It was incredible to watch a young skipper like her being so brave and going up against someone with Chamari Athapaththu's experience. But that is exactly what the tone of this game was. Fatima Sana being that brave leader, leading a team which has people who have seen so many more years of cricket than her, and they managed to keep Sri Lanka tight just enough to seal a victory by 31 runs. Eventually, we saw a lot of that. That batting collapse was something that's not new to Sri Lanka. It's things that they've overcome over the last couple of years, and this was a proper shock for them. The fact that they begin their tournament with a loss that they would not have thought would come up for them makes life a little difficult when they go ahead against harder opponents in their group. So that is what happened on day one. Now let's look at the fixtures coming up on day two. To begin with, we have South Africa taking on West Indies, and then we have India versus New Zealand in the second fixture. Both these games are in Dubai. We had the pre-match press conferences for these two games on match day eve, which is where I was. I was not in Sharjah. I was watching stuff from Dubai. And it was very interesting, the kind of conversations that came up with the captains and the coach ahead of these two games. Laura Woolward, of course, spoke a lot about how the team's preparation is sort of coming together. They aren't reading too much into what's happened in the warm-up games, given that they've lost theirs. But this team has sort of had a sense of cohesiveness that we managed to see when they toured India as well. Most of those matches were in Chennai. We got to see the camaraderie that this team has and what their batting philosophies have looked like and how they've evolved over the last couple of months. And Laura is hoping that comes through when they take on West Indies, which is unpredictable on any given day, but more so in a T20 World Cup. For West Indies, a lot of the focus is, of course, going to be on Deandra Doughton, who's come back to international cricket after announcing her retirement. She, of course, was dismissed for a one-ball duck in the warm-ups, but there would be a sense of she's an experienced player. She knows what she's doing. She knows exactly how to slot back in. And on her day, if she gets going, it could take the game away from the opponent quite decisively. And she's pretty handy with the ball as well. But the player for me to watch out for, I think, for West Indies would be Hayley Matthews. And Shane Dietz said the same thing. She's a player who loves to take pressure on herself. She likes to be that player who comes in and surrounds herself with all the action and wants to be contributing in every department. So you have outliers like that and you have team cohesiveness like this on two different sides. I think it's going to make for a very, very interesting match in Dubai. The other fact is that it's a day match, so there's going to be some testing conditions that they'll have to get across in this game. The second game is what a lot of us Indians are going to be waiting to watch. India taking on New Zealand. On paper, looks like a very straightforward game in India's favor because of New Zealand's track record in T20Is this year. They've won just a game in the 13 T20Is they've played. Things not looking great momentum-wise, but the team is very, very confident of just going there and putting their best foot forward. With India, and I saved the most dramatic for the last because for months we've been waiting to see who that India number 3 is going to be. Amol Majumdar, before the team left for Dubai, said that we will reveal the number 3 in Dubai. And there were several contenders like Yastika Bhatia coming back from injury, Dayal and Hemlata, who's been given a few shots. We saw Sajna, Uma Chetri, Jemima, who's been experimented with in this slot for a very long time. So many players were there, so many names were there in this little musical chairs. But eventually, there was a surprise trump card thrown in Harmanpreet Kaur. We saw Harmanpreet coming in at number 3 in both the warm-up games, and Amol Majumdar, in no uncertain terms, confirmed that it's going to be Harmanpreet coming in at number 3 for India in this World Cup. Is this a gamble? Is this going to pay off? Is this not going to pay off? That is something that's going to be interesting to see because Harman has sort of made that number 4 position in the Indian team her own for a very long time. She's played more than 116 matches in a 178 game career, T20I career in this slot, and she has the most runs in the world in that slot, about 2,400 runs. Nat Silverbrunt is second best, much, much further away from her. This number 3 position is very, very important. If you look at India's dismissals, when that first wicket falls for them, a lot of those dismissals come in the power play, particularly the second over. And given the slow, low conditions that we're seeing here in Dubai, particularly, which is what we're expecting conditions to be at least, this is going to be very, very important. Harmanpreet gets a lot of time to settle in. It's, I guess, not as crunched up as when she would come a little later down the order. She has time to understand the conditions and really set her feet in before she gets going. If that's been the reasoning, then we're going to have to see how that works out for her. Amol Majumdar did reveal that this wasn't a last-minute decision, as in it was not a decision taken here after the team landed in Dubai. There were a few pre-tournament camps that were held in Bangalore, and Amol says that this decision was taken there itself. But one wonders why all of these experiments have been done over the last couple of months, and what exactly turned the paddle in favor of Harmanpreet Kaur. That is something I think we'll have to wait and watch to find out, as in when we see how she does in this position in the matches of the World Cup. Besides this, in both stadiums, we're sort of expecting pacers to come into play, at least in the earlier matches of the tournament, because in Sharjah particularly, we saw some green tinges on the pitch. We've still not had a look at what the Dubai surface is like, but the initial parts of the tournament are when the pacers will really want to get maximum advantage from any little assistance that the pitch could provide before it starts drying out over the course of the tournament. So India's pace cartel, I think, would be very, very eager to make an impression. We've got Arundhati, we've got Renuka, we've got Pooja. How the combination comes about, whether India goes spin heavy or pace, I mean, I don't expect them to go pace heavy, but how they sort of balance their responsibilities will be very interesting to see in this game. New Zealand does come a little bit on the back foot, but on their day, if they want to, they can really give their opponents a run for their money. And a lot of that will depend upon Amelia Kerr, who's been crucial with bat and ball. We saw how she was against the England side in the warm-up, where she single-handedly was holding together the batting and bowling innings. She will be very crucial for New Zealand in this fixture. We will, of course, check back with you guys after these two games are done, because there'll be plenty to talk about. Australia, of course, gets its tournament underway a little later. We've got England coming into action. So there's a lot of stuff to be discussed from the Women's T20 World Cup. Please make sure you keep an eye on our spaces here on Sportstar. We'll try and bring you as many updates as possible from Dubai and Sharjah. See you guys in the next video.